The Box Seat, brought to you by our stable of sponsors: Woodland Stud, New Zealand Bloodstock Standardbred, Brecken Farms, Stonewall Stud, IRT, it's your horse and our passion, Australasian-wide Garrard's Horse and Hound, Ricciero Racing Stables, Lincoln Farms, the clubs Alexandra Park, Cambridge Raceway, Ashburton Trotting Club, Addington Raceway and Harness Racing New Zealand.
I'm cranking up on the throttle, victory is mine. Show you the harder the battle, harder I fight. I've come too far to quit. Step back, I'm going in. I'm cranking up on the throttle. This is how legends are made. Like iron from the fire, getting stronger. This is how legends are made. Above it all, untouchable, a new animal. This is how legends are made.
Hi everyone, welcome into the Box Seat review of IRT New Zealand Cup week, and what an exciting time it was at Addington Raceway. Michael Guerin, you were there. When I say exciting, the racing on the track was nothing short of breathtaking. Obviously off the track it was completely different, but there's still some marvellous performances for us to go back and have a look at.
Yeah, there was, Greg. Big hi to you, and hi to everybody watching around the country or further afield. The racing was great, and it needed to be, because there was a lack of atmosphere from the simple fact there wasn't enough people there, Greg. And being in Christchurch for Cup Week was really strange, because you're so used to it overtaking the city, and it definitely didn't have that feel. But there's nothing we can do about that. And if you look at what the club and the code achieved during the week, Greg, we've had a great Cup week with some outstanding racing on a superb track. So I don't think we can dwell too much on what we couldn't do, because that's nothing to do with us, really. That's the country's issue and the world issue at the moment. Let's talk about the stuff we could control. Some awesome racing, Greg. And I thought Tuesday was great. It was probably one of the few times I've ever been to Cup week where Friday was maybe even better. But in 5 or 10 years' time, Greg, the race everybody remembers is the same one.
Yeah, exactly. The 118th running of the IRT New Zealand Trotting Cup over 3,200 metres. Let's go back and have a look at the whole race. Here's the start, the all-important start, and I want to give big ups to Ricky Donnelly and what he did for both 2-mile starts, the Renwick Farms Dominion as well. So off they went, and Steal the Show began really well, as we expected, classy brigade. Now here's the most crucial part of the race. Mark Purdon punching through there was self-assured, got a great start, ended up on the back of Robbins Playboy, and at that point, Michael, Blair Orange had to get on his bike, because he had to maintain his momentum and get in front of Self Assured, who's now getting cluttered up back in the field, and make the all-important move to the lead.
What we saw there, if you watch the two horses who were the two favourites, one of whom is now run to the front and the other is now 4, about to be 5 back on the outside, is that Self-Assured actually got in front of Copy That. So his nose was actually in front of Copy That, which is quite remarkable considering he started from the second line and Copy That started from the front line. But that gap closed, mainly due to Kango actually getting up there and alongside Self-Assured, and there's no pushing big Kango around. And that means by the time we get to this stage, Copy That's in front, Greg, and Self-Assured's now about to be 5 back on the outside. Similar to last year. Last year, they didn't get a fair start with Copy That, but it had that feel of a drag race to the first bend, because they're such good horses. And Greg, right about now, even though Self-Assured was in a good spot, when you go through them, you go, well, Copy That's in front where he loves to be. You're relatively confident that Classy Brigade, who most of us thought would be in the trail, probably wouldn't have the speed to run down Copy That. and you had big odds horses in Bad to the Bone and Laver sitting in those next two spots. So you start going, where's the dangers, where's the dangers, where's the dangers? And they're now 5 back on the outside, and South Coast Arden, who's behind Self Assured. So, Greg, right about now, we were thinking, we know what's going to happen next. At some stage, Mark Purden's going to have to move, and so too is Natalie Rasmussen. And that's exactly what happened. But even this far from home, Greg, even halfway at the mile point, these two horses coming wide were hiding to nothing.
Yeah, they were. There were some suggestions that maybe they could have moved earlier and therefore particularly South Coast Arden didn't have to work as hard. And there you see the move by Jared O'Reilly. He comes out again with Laver in front of Self Assured. Mark Purden has to grab a hold and then work really hard at this point. Now, Blair Orange knows that. He fires up Copy That a little bit more and makes Mark work into the traditional showgrounds bend. Following him through, of course, is South Coast Arden, and he's having to work doubly hard too. Meanwhile, Michael, Copy That, as you've said, in his favoured role, sitting on the marker pegs, doing what he likes to do, and that is burn from about this point with the two biggest rivals having to work outside him.
Well, the overall time is not super quick. It's 2 seconds slower than the Dominion we'll review later in the show. But once you put a horse like Copy That in front in a moderate first half, then it becomes a decent mile or a decent 2,000 metre race. So here he is in front and things have gone absolutely perfectly. We were still unsure about what Classy Brigade could do out of the trail. Well, he's underperformed. South Coast Arden has been absolutely enormous. And the question right now was, can Self Assured come wide and give this horse 3 lengths?
About this point, Michael, you see Self Assured again, just laying in a wee bit on, almost onto the wheel of South Coast Arden, but Blair Orange has chirped up the second favourite, Copy That, trained by Ray Green, and he has won brilliantly, home in 54.4. Blair Orange's salute there, of course, the George Calvert cleaning sponsored driver. He's been with him for the last 25 years, and Blair racks up win number 2 in the great race. Congratulations, Blair.
Yeah, cheers, Greg. It's a big thrill again.
Let's talk about the start of the race and the most important part of the race. You stepped first of all, but I tell you what, Self Assured was getting through on the inside. There must have been some nervous time there.
Yeah, he actually stepped good, but not fast. But I just had Kango run out on me a touch early. So once we cleared that, and I did look across and thought, hell, Mark's actually going to settle in front of me. But luckily, my guy gathered enough speed, and we're able to get there before him.
We've seen it a few times, and I think of horses like Yulestar. Once they roll to the front with 2 laps left to go in the Cup, and they have the ability that Copy That had or has, your confidence levels must have been rising.
Yeah, as soon as he found the front, I said pre-race to yourself, I think that, if he did find the front, it was probably his race to lose. And he got a nice time of it in front and, running nice half and nice quarter. But, yeah, once I got to the lead and such quickly, confidence levels did rise.
And obviously straight away you think of Ray Green in his greatest moment in the sport. He couldn't be here, but how special to win a Cup for him?
Yeah, Ray's a champion guy, and he's been around a lot, and he's probably forgotten more than I know. So, yeah, very good for Ray, and as you say, it's just unfortunate he couldn't be here.
Meg and Merv Butterworth, go back to your days at the All-Stars and your association with them. It's a long one.
Yeah, it is. They've both Meg and Merv have been very supportive of me for quite a few years now. So, to reward them with a victory like that was just as satisfying.
Weird old day though, Blair. No crowd to come back to, but it'll never detract from the fact that in the record books it'll have BN Orange driving a second Cup winner.
Yeah, it was a surreal feeling, and it's a shame the crowd couldn't be there. It's the atmosphere, it's what Cup Day is about, and it's what you live for. But unfortunately that happened, but lucky enough we won it.
So winning driver there, Blair Orange, he spoke about Merv and Meg Butterworth and his association with them. I got the opportunity to catch up with Merv and take in what it was like for them in Victoria, taking in further success in the New Zealand Cup. Merv, he grabs the lead 2 laps out. From what you've been telling me, leading into the race, that script was perfect.
Yes. I said to Meg, Red Rover all over. Seriously, I can see Mark out the back there. The questions were flowing out of his ears. What am I going to do next? What am I going to do? And I love the way Mark drives.
Merv, you talk about Mark Purdon and your relationship with the All-Stars. Blair Orange was a big part of that and drove a lot of horses for you. Maurice McKendry's his North Island driver and has done a fantastic job. Blair's, I think, only been beaten once on this horse. When you had him driving with 2 laps left to go in a New Zealand Cup and you're exactly where you wanted to be, you had the right bloke sitting in the bike, didn't you?
Yep. Very rarely, unless it's the All-Stars with a herd of horses, most drivers don't take Blair on. And when you've got a noted front runner in Copy that's never been beaten in front, the script was it was pre-written. Not because we won, but because I was so confident before the race, and every furlong we travelled, my confidence just went up.
Merv, we're not going to see him as much in New Zealand now. I understand that you're pretty keen to get him home to your native country.
I don't want to separate Ray and the horse. Ray is a fabulous bloke, straight up and down, black and white, as I've said. The Lincoln Farms team have been fabulous. I've got a couple of targets. I want to go to Perth for the Fremantle Cup and the West Australian Trotting Cup because I'm an ex-West Australian, or a West Australian if it suits, and I love winning Western dollars.
What about a Miracle Mile?
Ray's scratching to have a go at that.
Yeah,
I'd love to win the Hunter Cup, but it's on a week after the Perth races.
Right.
So much for the Grand Circuit management type of thing. That's another story. But they shouldn't put races so close together. So it does mean we should have a look at the Miracle Mile. We're definitely not going to the end of Dominion. That's stupid programming. Having to race 4 times in a couple of weeks, and you go to Bathurst and you go to where's the other, Newcastle, in peak hour traffic. These horses today are like thoroughbred sprinters, and they need looking after. They're not the pluggers of the past.
Merv, on behalf of the harness racing industry in New Zealand, you and Meg have invested so much in our sport. You've brought so much colour to it over a long period of time, and when you guys win a race like this, it warms us all. It really does. So I know you couldn't be here to celebrate, but we were celebrating for you, I can promise you, and we look forward to the opportunity when you get back over to the Shaky Isles to have a drink and toast your horse, because he was a vivid winner, the 118th running of the IRT New Zealand Cup.
Well, I'll tell you something that we got difficulty with. Trevor Casey's got a heap of trophies at his place. He's represented us like the other day, and Lincoln Farms in their office, they've got 3 suitcases of trophies, and we need to bring them back. But we
might have some XX baggage when you do come back. Then
the bloody customs department might charge us duty for carrying silverware.
Congratulations, mate. Really. Celebrated. You guys deserve to do that.
And I can speak on behalf of Meg, as you know I can. She loves it. She gets over the funny story. About 20 minutes after the race, she did her thing, I did my thing. I went out to see her. She was in the family room doing the bloody ironing.
Good on you, mate. All the very best in the future with him, and thanks for taking your time on the box seat. We do really appreciate it.
Good on you, Greg. Thanks a lot.
So a great opportunity there to catch up with Merv Butterworth. What it brought to me, Michael, is the domination of Australian owners in the New Zealand Cup. It goes back to Arden Rooney in 2015, and of course Megan Merv owned him outright. Lazarus had Australian connections. The Fix is the only horse in that period not to have had an Australian connection, of course, with last year's success with Gene Feast and Self Assured. So they come over here, they spend a lot of money on horses, and they're getting rewarded in our biggest race.
Yeah, it's an incredibly symbiotic relationship between both sides of the Tasman, and it goes both ways. They do come here and spend a lot of money. For one reason, predominantly, we have better horses than they have there over a long period of time. We have a stronger broodmare band and a better place to grow horses. One of the other reasons is it's more fun going to the harness races in New Zealand than it is in Australia. Now, Gene Feast or the Butterworths will tell you that there's just more glamour to harness racing in New Zealand than there is to Australia, because the bigger tracks are out of the cities and the code's not as dominant there. The gallops are so big in Australia. So, I think Australian harness racing would really struggle without New Zealand to retain some of these big owners, and then we would struggle without them to provide so much turnover and money, Greg. So it's funny, people talk all the time about Australia and New Zealand. That is the same country to me when it comes to racing, not when it comes to cricket. When it comes to racing, they're the same country. So for a horse like Copy That, Greg, that's where he's probably going to spend some of next year, you would think. Whether that's a Hunter Cup or a Miracle Mile, he would seem a natural Miracle Mile horse. We might see another one of those a little bit later on. Had a good talk to Mark Purdon on the radio with you yesterday about Self Assured. He thinks the horse is just not spot on right, so I don't think he'll be travelling anywhere anytime soon. And we'll get to some of the others later, because obviously they all raced predominantly on Friday as well. So I thought it was a good cup, Greg, but I think most people who follow harness racing closely, the biggest buzz they got was Ray Green. Ray's an immensely popular guy. He's 76 years old. He's always funny and charming and blunt and says things other people don't, Greg. So I think a lot of people really enjoyed that. Well done to Trackside, who had a difficult cup week themselves because they couldn't have everybody they wanted to have in certain places. But I think Nicole Sims was out there and interviewed Ray. I didn't get a chance to hear it, but I could see it on television, and a lot of other people mentioned it. So well done to them giving Ray that opportunity to have his say about that remarkable time in his life. So yes, Blair and the Butterworths and the people involved with Copy That breeding and all that sort of stuff, Greg, they've all won a cup too. But I think for most people in the industry, that was Ray Green's New Zealand Cup.
Yeah, it certainly was his biggest moment in the sport, no question. What about those just in behind Copy That in the Cup? Mark, that was a brave defence of his title.
Yes, that's right. It was always a lot hinged on the start, and Blair got Copy That away, and naturally we thought the front was going to be there for him, and it was, and that was the winning of the race probably. So, good luck to them this year, and we chased hard and tried hard, but he was too good on the day.
You nearly got through there in the early stages of the start, though, didn't you? If you could have got in front of him, who knows?
Yes, that's right. You never know, but on that, he was very good on the day, Copy That, and I think probably on the day the best horse won.
Oh, he won a great race, Greg. Just probably from the unruly, we've got a long way back. Did work the last lap. I was super proud of him. Still 12 months away, I feel, from being in the package, but, he's just won a great race and couldn't be prouder.
Yeah, he went super race, got the dream run through the pigs, and just a lot of wee tradesmen took advantage of it and bet along really well.
Wee bit disappointing overall, really, Greg. Sort of the way you sort of lead up races, you come into the race, and the trip I got, I was sort of flat down the back, which is very unlike him. So done a few tests, I've come back okay. So he just had an off day, the old fella. So turn the page.
Yeah, he went a really great race. He probably begun too good for his own good for a start, but ended up getting probably a good run, but probably too good for him. So we had to make another move, but he's got a good race, and yeah, he battled out bravely.
And a big thank you to those guys for giving us an insight, and girls, as to what it was like running in the New Zealand Cup and finishing just in behind Copy That. Michael, I got to catch up with Ken Brecken around how he and Karen and the other connections watched the New Zealand Cup. They got to watch it with Brent Mangos, which I thought was pretty cool. He said, win, lose or draw, we were going to celebrate the fact that a horse that 18 months ago, he actually got beaten at Cambridge in a lower grade race, and well, the job that Mango has done with him to get him to this stage and now placed in a cup, well, the future's really bright for him.
It is, and we'll see a bit more of that future very shortly. But yeah, overall, Greg, no complaints with the Cup. I thought that everybody would be happy enough with the win. Self-Assured was a no-excuse job. Yep, might have lost the race at the start, but that's racing luck. That's how it pounds out. And most of the horses, Greg, probably performed to a decent enough level, apart from Classy Brigade, who had a bad day to have a bad day. But as you know, Greg, Cup Day happens and it's huge, and then another couple of days later, you're like, oh, here we go. One lap shorter. Here we go again.
We'll get to that free-for-all in just a moment. Of course, we lost a horse leading into the IRT New Zealand Cup, and Pembroke Playboy was right in the market as well. Got a chance to catch up with Nathan Williamson, who had to say this about his stable star. Nathan, as shattering as it was to miss the IRT New Zealand Cup, we've got some positive news around Pembroke Playboy.
Yeah, that's right, Greg. I sort of couldn't give you as much on Tuesday because I didn't know anything myself. But yeah, it just was a wee bit off in a hind leg, and we've just found that it's nothing to do with his leg. He's just, strained some muscles up in his hind quarter. So best result possible, and I think he's just, he's vet's advised just to have a few weeks off and assess him and probably back into it. So it's not as bad as I'd worried about and first thought. So it was great news, yeah.
Yeah, certainly great news there from Nathan Williamson. We look to see him back on the track with Pembroke Playboy. Let's go to the New Zealand free-for-all, though, on Friday. And what a stunning race this was. The springback with media work. New Zealand free-for-all. South Coast Arden in front. Self-Assured to his outside. Then Krug, Cranbourne, Bad to the Bone and Kango. Here's Matt Cross bringing them home in what was an epic contest.
South Coast Arden's lifting. South Coast Arden, Self-Assured can't get him. South Coast Arden, phenomenal. South Coast Arden won the free-for-all. Second, Self-Assured. Krug ran third. Fourth, either Bad to the Bone or Cranbourne.
Well, I know you were proud on Tuesday, but that's remarkable.
Oh, that's right, Greg. He's just such a bottomless horse, and I really think, like we still say, he's 12 months away. So I just think next season for Brent, he should have a hell of a good time with him. He's just, today he was dog-tired, top of the straight. He got headed, but he just refused to lay down. So I'm so glad the horse is going home now for a little break. He deserves it, and I just think he's just someone to look for in the next season.
What about Mango? How cool for him after such a good run on Tuesday to grab that Group 1. He'll be delighted. He and Di, who love this horse.
Oh, most definitely. I just don't think people realise the job that Brent's done with this horse. He's not an easy horse. Just in the time we've had him at home, you realise he's got a few irks and quirks. I think Brent just deserves so much credit for the job he's done with this guy. And, and I'd feel really privileged that he allowed us to, look after him and trusted us with him because I know how good he is. So, I'm so glad we could pull off one of the big ones for him.
Well, he's had a tough week.
Yeah, he went good again, Greg, but I thought I had the other horse, but no, the other horse wouldn't lie down. He just kept fighting all the way up the straight.
Gee, they were running, Mark. Another New Zealand record, and you moved into the race at the right time.
Yeah, that's right, and I let them sort of burn for a furlong there and didn't try and hold their backs. I thought they were, doing the right thing there, but and as you say, joined in at the right time, but still wasn't quite good enough.
Well, he's had a big week.
Yes, definitely will sleep tonight. We're proud of his third. Not very often you go home and you're excited about third, but we're beaten by a Rolls Royce and a Ferrari, so we're happy to be behind those two.
Cran, what do you do with them now, or have you not got that far down the track?
I'd like to think I'm organised, but I'm not. Obviously, he'll lie down for a couple of days, same as our connections. But we'd like to travel with him a wee bit. But in saying that, being a 4-year-old, we're going to have a bit of a tame year if there's such a thing.
Stop smiling, you bugger.
Yeah, it was pretty pleasing, Greg. After Tuesday, we were a little bit not deflated, but we missed away. And credit to Bose, he never knocked him around. And today, it didn't pan out how we thought the race was going to pan out. But to be off the rails and still hitting the line and not far away from those good buggers, it's good.
You said he'd be 12 months away, so there's a hell of a lot to look forward to for you, your son, and of course the ownership group.
Yeah, exactly. I think if we can just keep our feet on the ground and be patient and not try and over-race him and overcook him, there'll be a lot of fun to have.
The 109th running of the New Zealand free-for-all, 151.3 the mile rate. Very warm day, like a traditional show day we used to have, Michael. The speed from about the 600, or say 700 to the 300 is where most of the races were won because they burnt and had that wind behind them. But in this race, they ran right from the get-go.
Yeah, it was fun. It was great fun. He's such a lovely big horse that you don't expect him to have that level of gate speed, but he absolutely flew the gate. And then he got attacked by Laver, who is definitely making some races. That's one thing for sure Laver's doing. And I just thought mid-race that Mark would come out and go straight past them with Self-Assured, which he kind of half did. But then Natalie's horse outkicked him. Very good display of Natalie's horsepersonship. Able to just hold off enough with Self-Assured, South Coast Ardent, then ask him to go again. I think if she had asked him to go from the 300, Mark would have beaten her. I'm not entirely sure Self-Assured's exactly where he needs to be. I thought he was... I think we've seen a couple of times this campaign, he hasn't savaged the line that well, Greg. I'm not saying it's an easy thing to do, but he hasn't. And it would be hard to take him to Australia, that being the case. So Mark indicating he may go to a Miracle Mile or a Hunter Cup, unlikely to go to both. South Coast Ardent just looks a cracking Miracle Mile horse. He's just so good off the gate, Greg, gets up ahead of steam. I mentioned earlier that Copy That's win was Ray Green's win. I think for a lot of people this was Mango's win, even though Natalie and Hayden had a big role to play in it. He's done a great job with the horse, and I hope he gets to enjoy it more. He goes home on Tuesday, does South Coast Ardent, and I hope Brendan and Di and everybody who works for Brent gets to enjoy the horse over the summer. But I would be a waste for him not to go to the Miracle Mile. So to do that, he's going to need to go to New South Wales earlier and qualify. And Greg, you would think then he has the option to come home, have the slot race on April the 14th, and then the Auckland Cup. So while everybody keeps saying he might be 12 months away, with that gate speed, he's a factor in some pretty serious races. Those 3 races I just mentioned, Greg, when you're taking the exchange rate, worth $2 million in New Zealand dollars over the point of 3 months. So there's not many horses outside Copy That you'd be scared of in New Zealand with him.
No, you're right about that. Win number 11 it was for him. Let's put the pacing side of things to the side for the moment anyway and head to one of the great races, the Renwick Farms Dominion. Here was the all-important start, the 114th running. Away well was Sunday's Sun. His stablemate Mataderos made a very good beginning. Muscle Mountain in the green colours, a little bit like Self-Assured, was always going to get back, although he did settle into the running line about 3 back on the outside, so it wasn't a bad spot at all. Majestic Lavros makes the lead here, Mataderos, and then, very much like the New Zealand Cup, Sunday's Sun was always going to take up the front position, and right about here he did that. As they turn for home, though, in the Renwick Farms Dominion, it looked a 2-horse race by now, and it was John Dunn in front with Sunday's Sun, Mataderos having a crack, but the king of trotting in New Zealand was too good once again.
It's Sunday's Sun, though, a trotting great in the purest form. He wins the Dominion again in fantastic fashion. Sunday's Sun beat Mataderos, Bolt for Brilliance ran third, and Chief of Staff runs fourth. Then came Andy Hall from Midnight Dash, Muscle Mountain, Tweedledee.
Group 1 winning trainer Jenna Dunn.
Oh, yeah, I still can't believe that. It's a bit surreal, but I've had a lot of help, so yeah, that's great.
Huge for you, though, not only that, first, second and fourth in the Dominion. What about the horse, Sonny, as you know him, Sunday's Sun? He's just got an incredible will to win.
Oh, he has, and that's the thing, like he always comes out and he does those performances that he does, like it's amazing. Like there's no words for it, yeah.
Mataderos was outstanding in second, as was Chief of Staff, who's come so far.
I know Chief, that was a massive run by him, like you're watching Sonny, but then, like you see Chief run up the inside, like it was amazing, and Mataderos too, I'm lucky to have 3 nice trotters now, so it's great.
You know your name's not going to come out of this partnership in a hurry, because Robert will be thinking, well, I think I might have her name in there for a bit longer.
It could be the female touch. I don't know what it is. No, I shouldn't say that. No, it is, as I say again, I can't take credit for anything because it's a huge team effort. Just the staff that are unbelievable, and I'm very lucky to have them. Yeah.
What about your dad's contribution? Because he spends a lot of time with this horse, doesn't he?
He is. No one can get near Sonny, but that's a good thing. That's with Sonny. Like, he knows what Sonny's like, and you know, he works with them all the time. So I'm not gonna. Yeah, we leave them to it, and yeah, they've got a great bond, and Dad, like, you know, thoroughly deserved it too with all the hard work that he puts into that horse.
A special day for you and the family. Congratulations.
Thank you, Greg. Thanks.
Craig, I know you've admiration for this horse. That must have been stunning to watch.
Yeah, you always it's not easy to win any race, say, in the Dominion and coming into it with the pressure, and he worked like really good on Wednesday. Yeah, Wednesday. Yeah, so, you know, so he worked as good on Wednesday as he did last year before the Dominion, so we're thinking that, you know, I thought he's trotting good and he's in the zone, so.
How special to see Jenna win her first Group 1?
Yeah, and getting the Quinella. First year training was pretty good, eh? Yeah. No, it's good for her because she does a lot of work in that, eh? You know, and when RJ said about her going to partnership, I thought, you know, and but yeah, it's really good, and she deserves it, eh? Yeah. So.
Congratulations, mate.
Too, and Johnny, they all work hard, eh? And all the staff. It's not just me and Johnny and Jenna, it's everyone.
Congratulations, mate.
Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah, he's gone super, Greg. You know, he's new kid on the block, so to say, and they've smashed the clock, and you know, he's just run into a freak of a horse, and you know, his future's going to be very bright, and you know, he's going to be a big player.
Well, he's had a tough week.
He has, boy, geez, it was hard from back there. Like, I don't know, they were going that hard, you couldn't go around, and no one could, and yeah, he's done a great job to get up for third, really.
You've driven in a lot of Group 1 trotting races, Road Cups with the Yankee Lock and those types of horses. Can you believe the time they've run in this race?
Well, as someone said before, they went the first mile in 2 minutes. I said, I think when BBC won the Cup, he went about 2 minutes or so. And this is trotters, and we've cranked up after that. And so it's unbelievable how good that winner's gone. And well, actually, the first four have gone super.
Yeah. Well, you couldn't be more proud, I'm sure, of Bolt for the week.
No, I've just talked to Tony. He said, don't think I could have done anything different. He said, no, they're going too quick. So that's all we could do.
Yeah, I think they really topped the season off pretty nicely, Greg. I think you know, everyone's believed in him the whole way through the winter, and you know, it's a credit to Jason and the team of owners behind him and the job he's done at the beach. It's you know, he's really probably been the find of the season to step up and do what he did today after I let myself down with my hands early. You know, we always thought 2 miles would be his friend, and you know, didn't disappoint. It turned into a dogfight, and you know, he ate up the line as good as he could.
Well, you've been in this trotting game all of your life. Once you drew the second row and they run that time, it became mission impossible.
Yeah, it does really. You know, when they run, what they go, 3:56. Yeah, no, it got to the point. Yeah, it's nothing really. I mean, I know Dobby would love the horse put in the race and be up. But at the end of the day, it just couldn't be done, you know. The horse was a little bit worked up before, I think sort of overheated a little bit before the race too. And so he probably wasn't 100 going in probably, you know, but can't take it away from the first two. I mean, I think even if we sat, we were only going to run third anyway, you know. So he couldn't have taken it away from the winner. It was an amazing performance.
So great to get that insight from those just in behind, but also, Michael, from Jenna Dunn, who's now trained a Group 1 Quinella, first, second and fourth. Chief of Staff has done a great job as well. But let's concentrate on this winner, Sunday Sun. Craig Edmonds does so much with the horse they call Sunny. That was a brutal display, smashing the clock, smashing his own record, and of course beating the New Zealand Cup of its year by about 2.2 seconds to boot.
Beat most of the New Zealand Cups, Greg, in the last 120 odd years. In fact, only 6 have gone faster, and 2 of those were Lazarus. It was a remarkable performance. I know the track was very good there, and it was very warm, but that's still one of the great all-time trotting performances produced in this country. It sits alongside what Lyle Creek did when he came back from North America, had to get weaned off Lasix, and then came out and won the Road Cup by a mile. Among the great trotting performances I've seen in the last 30 or 35 years I've been professionally. But remarkable drive by John. Very different drive from what he did in the Road Cup back in May when he led and just dawdled around and went home in 55.3. I think that was because of Muscle Mountain. That's what depth does to races. He wanted to run the sprint out of him. Well, he ran the sprint clean out of everybody. Amazing performance. Let's not get too carried away with world record calls, because world records are basically rubbish. Unless they're over a mile, because most countries in the world don't race over 3,200 metres. Let it just sit with what it is. It is an incredible trotting performance, and you start to say, Greg, you know, where does he sit among the greats? I think the greats will always be headed by Lyle Creek in this country. But then it's hard to make a case that any other trotter we've had in the last 40 years would have been any better there. Maybe Call Me Now or David Moss or Pride Petite would have gone as good, and had some of them been sitting on his back, maybe they would have run past him because Metaderos got close enough. But it's hard to believe that if they had led in the Dominion, and that also includes Mombay and also includes Take a Moment, that if any of those are I Can Do's it, had led, Greg, they could have done that. Not just the time, the actual brutality of the running. So one of the greatest trotting performances I've been lucky enough to see. And he's not finished yet. That's the exciting part, Greg. He's not finished. He might have a year all the way. He's trotting so squealy at the moment. Maybe 2 more years, Greg. And I would love to see him go to Australia. I don't think it's perfect type racing for him. I would love to see him go to Australia and prove to people over there just how good these good New Zealand trotters are when they're in that type of form.
Yeah, you're not wrong. He wasn't there on Tuesday for the Livermore New Zealand Trotting Free-for-All. The last time it'll be run on New Zealand Cup Day. It goes to a month later as part of that massive program in early December. But let's have a look at Oscar Bonavina getting back into form at Group 1 level. This was an excellent edition of the Trotting Free-for-All. In front, Majestic Man. Jim Curtin doing his level best with Bolt for Brilliance, who was so brave. And then Oscar Bonavina with the last say. Mark Purdon driving for his father, of course, getting the business done with Oscar.
Oscar Bonavina for the free-for-all. There's 5 for Purdon. Bolt for Brilliance second. Majestic Man third from Midnight Dash, One Apollo. The Dominator and Vacation.
Mark, I'm not going to say it's relief, but it's satisfaction on picking.
Yeah, very much so, Greg. I felt he's deserved a big race, and he finally got one with all his problems he's had through life. It has been rewarding.
Worked out perfectly for him. Hot speed up front, Majestic Man, Bolt for Brilliance, you sitting back smoking your pipe, and he delivered that lethal speed we know he's got.
That's right, Greg, and with those ones drawn inside him, I thought better not to get in the early burn, and it worked out well, so finished over the top.
How special for Dad, sitting at home, watching another Group 1 race that his son's in, and he's got a part share in him.
Yeah, absolutely. No, he was stoked and gets a great thrill out of it.
Yeah, no, he went huge, Greg, didn't he? I could hear Mark coming, that was the worst thing, and yeah, you just sensed he was going to beat me, but yeah, went a huge race and probably deserved to win that, really.
Yeah, Greg, we're happy enough with the run. He's run a gallant third in Group 1 and done a little bit of work early, so I think a few might have been a wee bit disappointed with him, but we were happy enough, and I'm sure he'll back up and go a good race on Friday.
So that was the Livermore New Zealand Trotting Free-for-All. Time for us to take a short break here on your box seat. On the other side, we'll go back to the pacing gate and have a look at the last of our Group 1s for the week at Addington Raceway. It was the Woodlands Sire Stakes. Welcome back into your box seat, brought to you by our stable of sponsors. Michael, before we go to that size stakes, just back to those feature races we've reviewed already, where are some of them going, and are any of them heading across the Tasman?
One is on Tuesday, Majestic Man. He jumps on the plane to go Christchurch, Auckland, Melbourne, joins our good friend Anthony Butt in Melbourne, then heads north to the Inter-Dominions out of Menangle. So he'll be officially trained by Phil Williamson for the Inters, but Anthony will be caretaker trainer and driver. Brad is not going because of the quarantine to get back into the country. So Bolt for Brilliance is going to head to the paddock. He won't be heading to the Inter-Dominions, even though he's in the nominations, and Self Assured was pulled out on Sunday. As I said, Mark just thinking he's got a little niggle somewhere to work out. So, Greg, there's not going to be a whole heap of New Zealand trained interest in the Inter-Dominion, but Majestic Man, when he gets to Australia, Fair to say, Greg, he'll be happy not to be looking Sunday sun in the eye anytime.
Yeah, you're absolutely right there, and he loves it over there. Always acclimatises very well. But let's go and have a look at the Woodland Sire Stakes and this stunning performance from Franco Indy, the son of Always Be Mickey, getting to the lead here over Casino Action. Republican Party to the inside. Franco Mack, his stablemate, getting pretty close too, and another brave performance from the Gavin Smith trained and driven My Ultimate Chevron. But Franco Indy, as game as you could ever be, holds off Franco Mack there, Michael, and we'll hear from those connections post-race. Wow, that was a brave performance.
It was, Greg, yeah. I've just got to give the horse all the credit he deserves. He got no favours, and to come, although it was only a short margin, but to come out on top was just a very courageous effort.
Mark, he has come so far this campaign.
Yes, that's right, yeah. He always had it, but he just didn't have the strength to go with it, and still a little bit the same today. I think he's a horse that's going to be better more toward the end of his 3-year-old season than he is right at the moment.
Oh, he won a great race. He had a beautiful trip, he drew really well, had a perfect trip, had his opportunity to beat Franco Indy, just wasn't good enough on the day. Still wrapped with his run though. He tried hard, he went good, so yeah, real happy.
Yeah, we had every chance, Greg. We got a lovely draw and lovely sit in the trail, and the other two were just lengths better than me, so no excuses, but we'll take third.
Great run, really. Burnt the gate hard and made a race of it. Sort of rolled along good tempo, and I like the way he sort of fought to the line. So a bit more time, he's going to be a lovely horse.
I was really proud of him, Greg. He went super. He missed a couple of weeks' work with the COVID lockdown, being on a public track, and it probably showed. He blew up bad across the back, but he hit the line as good as he could have, and yeah, really proud of him.
We know it's always been a great form race to follow horses even just in behind them, Michael, but on the son of Always Be Mickey, Franco Indy, he just fought them off and showed great tenacity there.
Perfect spring. He's turned up and he's come back a better horse. He's obviously quite a big horse, and he's strengthened up, and he's shown he can race from back in the field. He can come off the gate. He can sit parked. Lots to like about him, Greg. Lots to like about February the 12th. That's when he might be going head-to-head with Akuta from the Jewels, the stablemate, who, of course, won by 10 lengths that day. They'll both be set for the Harness Million out of the new meeting at Alexandra Park on the 12th. I think Akuta might be better, but I've got no proof of that, Craig, because we haven't seen him so far in the second half of the year. But yeah, very, very tasty bunch of 3-year-olds. And I think it's quite deep. I think Republican Party's a pretty decent horse. Obviously, Franco Mack was okay there. There was enough to like about Gavin's horse and the horse John drove. So there's a lot to like about this crop. And I still think Major Perry, who got scratched out of the race for apparently being sore before the race, and horses like Montana DJ still have things to offer further down the track. And yeah, there's a bit of depth about this crop, Greg, but I do think that if you owned 3-year-old number 5 to 10 in the country, Greg, it'd seem an awfully long way to get to a 2-year-old or 3-year-old 1 or 2, because Akuta and Franco Indy both very special looking horses.
If you're thinking about the sales and you're thinking about that Harness Million, as Michael has mentioned, what about combining this? Franco Indy's sire, Always Be Mickey, out of the mother of Akuta, A Door to Our Dreams. There's a filly going through the sales for Renwick Farms who got behind the Dominion. Might be worth having a look at, because it's certainly a hot family at the moment. Michael, we've got to get the elephant in the room out of the way. You and I got involved with the National Punters Club, brought to you by the Box Seat and Addington Raceway. And I'll be honest with you, it was my idea. I went to Darren Williams several times and thought, how can we help the club turn over some more money when it was always going to be a challenge with the Auckland TABs out and obviously not having as many people on course? We got it wrong. I certainly think my part of it, we got it wrong. We wanted to go there and have some large bets so that people could have a yell at the TV. And once we got started from 1 p.m, we weren't allowed to place any bets earlier on. So all of the horses, the hot horses that we'd been speaking about since the markets came out on the Thursdays, the Krugs, $2.40 into $1.70, Franco Indy, $1.90 into $1.35, even Bolt for Brilliance, about $2.70 into $2, they shortened dramatically, and therefore it made it really hard to justify having a large bet. Say, for example, Franco Indy, $50,000 at $1.35. Now, it's not the way I bet, but I know your mindset around some of these things is completely different. There was no way we were going to have 50,000 on a $1.35 shot because, quite simply, you're an idiot if it gets beaten. There are a lot of learnings to come out of this. There's no doubt about that at all. I think it's a good concept. I think going forward they should definitely try and do it again, but I wanted to get your thoughts on it.
Yeah, it's a great concept. I think having a national punters club or even if you sell packages for hospitality on track and saying, look, we'll take 100 off your ticket and we'll invest it for you. I think the parameters need to change. First of all, just get something up. We didn't back enough winners. So in the support races. So that's one thing. If you don't back enough winners, you don't make any money. But the parameters would need to change because once the fields come out on Thursday and people who form opinions, and I do a lot of that, it's my job for radio and television on this show and in all the newspapers. Well, once you're watching Krug go from $2.40 to $1.50, he actually closed at, and then Franco Indy from $1.90 to $1.35, you can't back them. You can't tell people you want to have 50,000 of their money on a horse at $1.35. That's just ridiculous. So I think what they need to do heading forward, and the parameters, I must admit I didn't think of this at the time because I very rarely bet on the day. In fact, I wasn't allowed to bet on the day for 20 years. So I just don't do it, is you would need to set up a fund and say to Addington or Harness Race in New Zealand, you back this at 50K and we'll start Thursday and we'll announce the bets on Tuesday. Because what we wanted to do, don't tell people the truth, is we want to have 50,000 on Krug at 2.4, love it, you make 70K. No chance I'm taking $1.50, that's just ridiculous. I'm not going to give people lectures on taking the right odds and then just do it with their money because that would be disingenuous. Same with Franco Indy at $1.90. Would have been more than happy to have 50,000 on him, but it's $1.35. And then the problem with the Cup was I wanted to get to the Cup and have 20, 25,000, 30,000 on both Copy That and Self Assured because I told everybody all week it's a two-horse race. But once Self Assured got into odds on because Mark Purdon kept winning so many races, you're then in the situation where if you back them both, you might have 30,000 on Self Assured, it might win the Cup, and you lose money. So if you're going to be cover betting, you can't cover bet on a horse paying $1.80. So I think if you had the option to bet early and therefore get best odds, that's fair. And I think Darren and the team, and if the TAB allow them to do that, have that option to do that next year. But asking punters to take the lowest odds is disingenuous. And that's my fault. I should have thought of that in advance. As it turns out, the TAB wouldn't have let us have those size of bets on Thursday anyway. The problem is then when you get to Krug's race, people want you to bet, and then you've got to do something else. Like have a fixed odds Quinella. Well, I wouldn't have taken a fixed odds Quinella in my life. So what you do is you end up in a difficult situation. By the time I got to the last race, I had said to you, I want people to get 60 cents in the dollar back because I'm a great believer there's no last race. Give people the money back in their account. Different from a boys get paid situation where you would have to refund them or they're in it for a laugh. I don't want to have your mother-in-law putting $100 into an account and me sticking 60,000 on Dashing Major because you want to have a yell at the TV.
We also had it going for, 32,000 anyway, so... Yeah.
Well, the moral of the story is, Greg, parameters need to be changed for it. I think it's a great idea heading forward. Had we backed more horses in the support races, fine. I'm probably not the right person for a punters club because I would never bet in 10 races. But yeah, bottom line is if you don't tip enough winners, you don't make enough money. But heading forward, we've all learned some lessons. I think it's a great idea and great the TAB and Darren Williams and Harness Racing New Zealand got behind it. So I hope they do it next year with those different parameters, announce the bets on the day, and I hope they find some better selectors.
Yeah, I hope they do too. A horse that was a find, there was a couple of them. The Dunfords had a really good week of it, didn't they? Winning 4 races. Let's go back and have a look at one of their winners. Always have faith, and of course it's all about faith getting the business done. Cyrus had a tough week, Michael.
Look, he did, but he's a horse who came out of the carnival enormously embellished on going into the carnival. Winner's a pretty good horse. I'm not sure how good he is. I'm not sure how good the horses are in behind, but these form races are going to be wicked heading forward because there's horses who raced in there who are going to turn up at Rangiora on a normal Sunday afternoon and go about 6 seconds slower and win some races. But yeah, maybe the winner's a really good horse. I think Cyrus is a really progressive horse who just had a lot of bad luck running into the wrong horse 2 times in a row. Here's the second of those times. And probably, Greg, if you talked about all the things we saw last week, the one thing which shouldn't have surprised us, but was impossible to predict, was just how well Mark Purdon would drive. didn't win either of the major open class pacing races, and yet basically didn't do a thing wrong in any race all week. He had a quite remarkable week in the Sulky.
Yeah, he did get a bit lucky in this race. There was a bit of a melee about the 1,000 metres or 900 metre mark, and he did drop to the trail, but you don't want to detract from that performance because they still broke 3:10, and yeah, congratulations to the Dunfords, who've enjoyed success at the Cup Carnival, as we well know, and they did again this year. The Graphite Development Show Day Futurity has developed into a really good race, and it was again. And what about the time in this, Michael Guerin? I'll get your thoughts off the back of it, but Get Up and Dance for Nathan Williamson in front of Socrates and the hot favourite Romeo Shard, who had to go around them when they were going a blistering speed. 3:07 overall. Let's get Nathan's thoughts off the back of a domination.
Get Up and Dance wins the Show Day Futurity by 5, and he loved it too. Socrates second, Romeo Shard runs third, and Tiger Taylor flashed late.
Well, that's going to be truly satisfying.
Yeah, great when you set a horse for a race like this such a long time ago, and to have it sort of work out the way you hope it would, it's definitely satisfying, Greg, yeah.
You were always going to go forward, try and dominate from the top end, because clearly Romeo Shard was the one to beat, and you were able to do that.
Yeah, that's right. He's got a good motor, this horse. You know, he's a good staying horse, and he can be a little bit wayward at times, but his motor's certainly there. So I thought once we ended up in front of the other one that would make it work, and it worked out in our favour.
How far can he go? What's the plan from here?
Yeah, no, he'll go a fair way. He's got a good motor, as I say, but he needs to just be a little bit more tractable. But in saying that, he hasn't had many starts yet either. So he'll have a freshen now and probably look at some Country Cups races and bring him through there. I think stands, he might be equally as good from a stand. He does tend to sort of get his head around and muck around a wee bit behind a mobile. So we're hoping that's going to be his forte going forward and sort of work forward to, you know, Easter time back up here perhaps.
Race by the Kinsets, gee, he was very good. Socrates only had about 8 starts as well. Michael's got a bright future. Romeo Shard, once he went back at the start and the other two went forward and they went 3-7, his task got rather large, didn't it? But he was still pretty brave in third, and he's another one that's come a long way, particularly in the last couple of months.
Yeah, and punters, again, there, Greg, jumped in because that Mark Natalie thing just got so hot during the week, and he started at $1.35, which you wouldn't take the day before the races, but these horses get so short when everybody gets on the same one. I thought the winner was fantastic. A lot of the class rose to the top among the horse people last week, Greg, those people who are consistently good at doing this, and Nathan Williamson's becoming one of those people. So, well-bred horse. Obviously, its sister was a really good horse for the same owners, and sadly, she broke down, but they've retained her to breed from. Second horse was good. Again, Greg, there's going to be horses in that race who finish 50 metres from the winner are going to turn up in a normal race in 2 weeks' time and just think they're running downhill. So much like Cup Week every year, there's going to be an enormous amount of 6s, 7s, 8s and worse who come out, Greg, and start winning. So important note for punters heading forward. Just be a little bit careful. Horses you think who were disappointing during Cup Week may not have been. And in fact, I'm going to tip one of them as my horse to follow out of the week, even though it got beaten by 79 metres on Friday.
All right, look forward to that. Talked about that race being a great form guide, as is the next one we're going to have a look at. It is the Mears Classic with Neverly R, and in front, the Southland Oaks winner. Her name, Better Talk Art, and she ran a sensational time, 54.4 mile rate. She's already worth a heck of a lot of money for the O'Briens, and now she's worth a little bit more.
Better Talk Art, be the taste of honey. Darling Me runs third, Town Echo fourth.
Congratulations, Regan.
Yeah, thanks, Greg. It was great to win a listed race on show day, so no, more than pleased with that.
Brilliant performance from her, and Robbie Close rated her to perfection.
Yeah, it was actually a very good drive. He drove her positive and drove her like the best horse. So yeah, they had to be pretty good to get past her. It was a lovely run.
What do you do with her now?
Well, I actually haven't got that far ahead. I just sort of get through today and sort of see what we do with her. But yeah, she's a nice wee mare doing good things.
So she is doing some really nice things. Michael, gate speed, got the lead. She's going to be competitive in whatever she lines up in, particularly against her own sex. I thought A Taste of Honey, Darling Me, they were both pretty good to boot. But it's important for a guy like Regan Todd. He's starting to rise up the ranks and needs these sort of quality horses, Group 1 quality horses. She's been placed at that level as well, winning these types of races. And like I said, it's a good race, this.
It is. I was thrilled for the Goose, for Robbie. He doesn't get that many horses who can win on these major days sitting in front of him. So I was really happy for him and for Regan. Cool moment for those guys. So good form race. Again, it's going to be strong. And good to see these mares coming through because we've lost Amazing Dream. I doubt she'll ever race here again. We lost Beyond Words, who was one of our better mares last year. We needed to refurbish our mares bunches. These horses, and of course Better Twist, who is doing wonderful things in Australia, Life's a Beach coming on board, Greg. It's actually got an exciting crop. Got an exciting crop of horses in that grade. So we've still got Bellamontana to come back in the north as well, or to come back for the summer racing. So yeah, there's going to be some interesting racing for these mares because if Amazing Dream was here, Greg, she would probably be dominant in the markets, but she's not, and it's going to make it really interesting.
Yep, it certainly is. Also interesting, the hits and misses that have come out of Cup Week, and a big thank you to Matthew Peden, who did a great job on trackside during the week. Here's a list of some of those. It's all about Faith, 1,000 at $4.50. Of course, he was $13, one of the biggest moves over a Cup Carnival I can remember. Oscar Bonavina, 1,000 at $3.30. Archman, couple of hundred each way there at 17s. Lovin' the Port, who was heavily back, $3.80 into $2.70. Someone was happy enough to have over 3,000 on Lovin' the Port, and a great training effort there by Phil Williamson, and a decent bet on Copy That of 1,600. Harold Smith, he might have just come to the end of what's been a busy campaign, but he's a horse to follow for sure. Cyrus, I know who that was, 5,000 at $3. Bolt for Brilliant, Self Assured, and Dashing Major, not quite getting it done, but going two great races over the 2 days. Michael, that wraps up the Cup Carnival. Just news out of Addington, and the figures aren't quite finalised at this stage, but $5.5 million on Cup Day, about $3 million on Show Day. I think overall that's actually a very good result given the circumstances.
Look, it is. Greg, it was a giant pain in the arse. COVID's a pain in the arse, but people die of this stuff. It's really important we get on top of it. So if we have to have a not as good Cup week, then it's what we have to have. You know, there's far more important things going on in the world than that. I think the horse people handled themselves really well. Now, horse people can be quite relaxed about things because most of them live on farms. But they handled themselves with the COVID protocols, the mask wearing. They handled themselves with the media really well in difficult situations because of mask wearing. I thought the stables was controlled and was appropriate for a level 2 race meeting. I thought they did a really good job, the horse people, as did the club, but I don't have as much to do with them. And we made the best of a bad situation, Greg. And let's hope it never happens again. And by this time next year, we have a lot more freedoms, which would hopefully be certain. So I'm glad we were able to have Cup Week 2021, Greg, because 6 months ago maybe we weren't going to have it. I'm also glad that maybe next year it'll be different.
Yeah, so am I, Michael, and I know the staff and everyone involved at Addington Raceway certainly looking forward to having the carnival back as it has been well known for. Short break for us here on Your Box Seat, then we'll be in the home straight. Welcome back into Your Box Seat. Time for us to head across the Tasman with Garrard's. It's Breeders' Crown semi-final time. Well, it was at the weekend, Michael, and the main Kiwi focus is around the 3-year-old fillies and, of course, our star filly in Better Twist. And could she get into winning form building towards the final this Saturday night?
And the crucial factor, Greg, was could she get up against the marker pegs? I mean, she's had the 2 runs already in Australia, and both times she's been off the marker pegs. Well, look, she is obviously up against a very good local crop. Let's check out some of the opposition. Here's Beach Music. She's beating Joanna here, and they're both very good fillies. So there's no stress with how quality of what we're seeing here. Out wide for Josh Dickey, just sneaking into the final. Sneaking was Life's a Beach. So she had absolutely no luck with the sectionals they were running up front. Talk about sectionals up front. Here she is, BT, Better Twist, in front. There's Ladies in Red, who's a very, very good filly outside her. But Anthony Butt knows how to do this. He did it with Smolder all those years ago against Lazarus. He's done it a few times in Amazing Dream. He just went quicker and quicker and quicker down the back straight and into the home straight, Greg. And she might lack the absolute sheer change-up speed to be a dominant filly in Australia, Greg, because she's going to need to be on the speed all of the time in her races. But when she gets up against the marker pegs, she is just going to burn their lungs as maybe a little Sunday Sun type performance. So I thought she was fantastic the other night. But those barrier draws came out on Monday, and it's going to be crucial for the final where she draws in relation to the Emma Stewart horses, because they're not going to do her any favours.
No, they're not. She's got 6 in the final, $200,000 final, and Emma's got 6, so that's a remarkable feat in itself, and they're not going to do Better Twist any favours, so we're filming this prior to the barrier draw, so we wish Ken and Karen Brecken and the Brecken Syndicate all the very best in that barrier draw, and again in the final, and Life's a Beach. You're right, Michael, she's got there by pencil line, the top 6 to qualify, and she's only just snuck in there.
Yeah, it's an incredibly hard series for her because, you know, unless you're up against the marker pegs, you're having to run sub-54s to get into these races, Greg. But look, I think it's going to be a great finals night. It's going to be a lot of fun. American Dealer's going to be there. I think the New Zealandish type representation is going to be relatively strong. But there's so much going on, Greg, and so many moves and calendars that the Breeders' Crown used to mean an enormous amount to us back when it was in August. And now it's on November 20th. It's like, oh, okay, it's sort of just there. So if you do get a chance to check it out this weekend, it will be pretty cool, and obviously we'll review it for you on this show next week.
Michael, we're filming prior to the fields coming out for all of our race meetings this week domestically, so I thought with Rakiro Racing I'd come up with a horse, and you can do the same, to follow out of the Cup Carnival. So we'll start with you. What's the one horse that you think punters can follow with a bit of confidence?
Well, domestically, it'd be Soundwave. I think it's a horse you raced in the south of Waitaki and will fall nicely back into one win grade. But here's a horse to follow. Got beaten by 80 metres the other day. Majestic Man. And he was pretty good. He was third in the free-for-all. And then he's been parked out and worked early in that crazy Dominion. And Brad didn't knock him around when he hit the wall, but he's on the plane to Melbourne and then down to up to Sydney for the Inter-Dominions, Greg. He's going to feel like he's running downhill compared with those horses. Now, this Inter-Dominion trotting series, Bolt for Brilliance, has pulled out, and Andy Gath's taken his 3 out, including Majesticioso and Formorna Tornado Valley. So this has changed complexion enormously. One of the dangers to Majestic Man could actually be former stablemate Funky Monkey. She's arrived in New South Wales with a thud. But I know he may not be in career best form, Majestic Man, but Greg, he is going to fall into one of the weakest trotting Inter-Dominions in the history of the code. I'm glad they're having it. Some people are blaming the travel around the state, but they're doing exactly the same thing in Victoria next year. Comes down to money. Greg, it was $500,000 Sunday Sun at be there. It's not $500,000, it's 150,000. Good on Phil and his team for wanting to go and flying the Kiwi flag. And after a couple of those heats to get his confidence up around Menangle and Bathurst and Newcastle, he'll almost certainly start favourite in the final.
Yeah, well, I'm going to go with Archman. Paid a very good price on Cup Day, and I thought, I didn't really see that performance coming. Came out on show day, went enormous, ran fourth in behind It's All About Faith. So, I reckon Archman's one to follow out of the Dunn camp. And a big plaudits to them too, because Diamond Racing Team, they didn't have all favours throughout the carnival, but they shone in a couple of them, and obviously Sunday Sun shone the brightest.
Let's not do it again, Greg. Let's have a different Cup Week next year. Let's have a Cup Week with lots of people and hugging, and people can drink too if they want that sort of stuff. It was a weird week to be there, but we got it done. The industry got it done, and those people whose names are in the record books, there'll be no asterisks. There'll be no little COVID signal there. They'll be there forever. So well done to Ray and to Mango and to everybody involved, to Jenna Dunn. Well done to all those people who had those very special moments, because they will last forever when hopefully COVID is a thing we don't talk about anymore.
Yeah, you're not wrong there. What about domestically? What can we look forward to this week? Well, it doesn't slow down, people. We go to Rangiora, depending on how you want to go. 3:10 the start time, bit of a twilight meeting there. Winton start at lunchtime on Thursday, and Manawatu have their second night. Then we go to Alexandra Park just before 6 o'clock, where there's a Dunstan Sire Stakes heat for the fillies. Lady of the Lights, 4 from 4, likely to continue on with that. Timaru have a twilight meeting just before 3 o'clock. They kick off and they don't finish till nearly 8 o'clock, which makes it a blimmin' tough old go for the trainers and drivers, because they've got to be back at the mop the next day, and the crew from trackside to boot. I think maybe people should give more consideration to that, because having a twilight on a Saturday night, there's a whole lot more people involved, and of course no one can go on course. So yeah, anyway, we'll leave that for now. And as I said, the mott just before 1 o'clock on Sunday. Michael, that wraps up the box seat review show for the IRT New Zealand Cup Carnival of 2021. Appreciate your input throughout the week and again on the show, and look forward to seeing you in another week.
Mate, look, lots to look forward to. Now we've got a Cup week out of the way, you start to go, oh, wow, we've got a slot race and a new Harness Millions thing to get taken care of. And there's so much we haven't thought about. And we're going to try and analyse some of that heading forward over the next couple of weeks, because it's an amazing time in harness racing, Greg. A lot is changing, and it's our job to keep you people watching at home up to speed with it all.
All right, we'll see you in 7 days' time.